What's going on, guys? Nick here with SQL Technologies, and I'd like to welcome you to your third class on SQL. And today we're going to be talking about where clauses. So before we get started talking about the where clause, I want you to think back to our last tutorial in which we talked about the select statement. If you can remember, the select statement does nothing more than tell SQL Server Management Studio to return data from our table back to us. We can either return all of the data that's available within the table, but remember, this is not best practice, or we can return a series of columns from a specific table. But what if we don't want to return all of the rows from that table? What if we only want specific information to be returned to us? Then that's where we can invoke what's called a where clause. And all the where clause allows us to do is just restrict our query results to only the rows of interest that we actually want to see. So we're breaking it down a little bit more. We started big. We returned all of the data that was available within the table. Then we said, nah, that's too much information. I only want a series of columns. So we passed through our columns in our select statement. And now we only want to return individual information from the rows of data that have been returned from these columns. Okay. So if you're taking a look at the screen right now, as you can see, we have a typical select statement, or at least the structure of a select statement. And of course, it begins with the select keyword. Then we have our from, and then we have our where. So essentially how it's going to look is we're going to select the column from a particular table where some type of logic exists within that particular column. Perhaps we want where all of the ages are greater than 15, where all of the days are Monday, where the name is equal to this. We're restricting our rows of data to only return specific information that we want to see. In all, it creates search conditions that determine the rows returned by our query. So without further ado, let's go on ahead and get to coding, and let's pop open SQL Server Management Studio. And at the moment, you should have a blank query screen open. Okay. So remember, we're always going to have to tell SQL Server what database we're going to be querying data from. And that's going to be AdventureWorks. Okay. Now let's go on ahead and write out our select statement. And we're going to be querying the person.person table. And all this has is information on people that exist in that table, their names and also their title. So we want to select the title, first name, last name, from person.person. Now let's run that. As you can see, it returns to us our three columns, the three columns that we want. So we have the title, the first name, and the last name. But what if I want to break it down even more? I mean, taking a look at these names, I'm getting males and I'm also getting females. Well, what if I only want the females from within this table? Well, now I'm going to invoke that where clause that I was just talking about. So it's going to be where title is equal, and I'll talk about that equal sign here in a little bit, to miss. Okay, so let's go on ahead and run that and see what happens. All right, so now as you can see, SQL Server is returning to me everyone that has a title of Miss. Essentially, everyone that's a female within our table. And that's all the where clause does. We can do this for tons of things. As I just mentioned, we can do this for numerical values. We can do this for numerical logic, arithmetic, you name it. if we're going to be breaking down this query to return specific information, then we are going to be using the where clause. The where clause, you're going to use the where clause 9 times out of 10 in every query. Why? Because that's going to be the only way that we can break down the information that we want returned to us. The data isn't useful if it's unstructured, essentially. Okay? So let's jump back over into our PowerPoint and let's talk about these equal signs. Okay, the equal sign is referred to as an operator. There are tons of operators, and if you're taking a look at the screen right now, these are the main ones. The first one, this is going to test two expressions not being equal to each other. So this is the exact opposite of the one that we used within our query, the equal sign. All this means is not equal. So if I jump back over into SQL Server, go back into my query, and I put an exclamation point before the equal sign, now I can expect all of the results to be male, right? Because we want everybody that's not female. And there we go. Now, as you can see, we have SR, which stands for Senor, I take it. And we also have SRA, Senora. So what that did was it only returned everything that was not equal to Mrs. Okay? So it returned to us Mr., it returned to us Senor, it returned to us Senora. However, the reason why it did this is because this is a string value. Okay, a string value, and since it's not specifically tied to a particular value within this column, then it's just going to pull back everything that's not definitively like the value that we pass through our SQL query, our where clause, essentially. Okay. Now, if I had another column that said male, female, well, there are only two genders in this world. So with that being said, in my where clause, I could just say where gender equals female, or where gender is not equal to female, then it would give me everybody back regardless of what the title says. But we don't have that column available to us. Okay. So let's jump back and take a look at a couple of more of the operators. We have not greater than, we have not less than. So all the exclamation point means is not. Okay. We have less than, we have less than or equal to, not equal, equal, our equal operator, the one that we just used. We have greater than, and also we have greater than or equal to. Okay. So these are going to be the main operators that you typically use whenever you have a where clause. Either something's going to be equal, either something's going to be greater than or less than. One of the many that you see right now. Okay, but taking it a little bit further, what if we want to sort our results? Okay, what if I'm dealing with multiple numbers, and whenever I get the results back within my query, all of those numbers are jumbled up. Perhaps the numbers can be 1 through 100, but the number starts with 65, and then it goes to 4, then it goes to 12. What if it's very volatile? Within my SQL query, I actually have the capability to order my results numerically if I'm dealing with numbers, and also chronologically if I'm dealing with years, and also in alphabetical order. Okay? So how's that look? Well, if I want all of my values to ascend, then I use the order by ascending. Okay, and we have to pass through our column, the column that we want to order it on. And we also have descending, and that is going to be the exact same thing, order by this particular column that has these values, and then descending. Okay, so let's see how that works within our query. So what if I want to order these results by first name ascending? So all of the first names that begin with an A, I want those to show up first. And all of the names that begin with a Z, I want those to come last. So we have order by first name ascending. Let's run it. And there we are. So now we have two things going on within our query. As you can see, we have all of our data broken down by everybody that doesn't have a title of Miss. And now we're actually ordering those results based off of first name, ascending. We can also do the same exact thing descending. So let's take a look at that. So we have a Z, we have a Y, all the way down to A's. So that's all you have to do. It's very easy. I want you guys to really get used to using these because they are going to be used almost every single time you write a particular query. And it's just going to make your results a lot easier to understand and a lot easier to read. Remember, SQL is all about returning meaningful data to us. So we can take that data and turn it into understandable information on behalf of users. Okay? So this was a pretty short class today, but your homework is to write some queries and provide some conditioning. To be specific, write a query in the production.product table in which the price is cheaper than $100. Okay, so think about what operator you're going to be using. Return the product name, product ID, and order your results by the product number. You can either do it ascending or you can do it descending. That's all I've got today, guys. We're going to be talking about some more cool stuff coming up in the next video. I'm Nick with SQL Technologies. Talk to you guys later. Bye.